In the quiet shadows of Nottingham, on January 14, 1946, a chapter unfolded that would etch a name in the annals of darkness: Harold Frederick Shipman. Born to a working-class family, Shipman's journey started innocently enough, adorned with the simplicity of youth on the Bestwood estate. Little did the world know that this unassuming boy would evolve into a figure synonymous with horror, deception, and the betrayal of trust. As we traverse the timeline of Shipman's life, we unravel a story that blurs the lines between healer and harbinger of death. From the rugby fields of his youth to the corridors of Leeds School of Medicine, Shipman's path appeared conventional. Yet, beneath the facade of normalcy lurked a man whose actions would later be described as those of Dr. Death, a moniker he earned with sinister pride. This narrative aims to dissect the layers of Shipman's life, examining the pivotal moments that molded him into a serial killer. From the early loss of his mother to the corridors of medical academia, each chapter contributes to the creation of a man who would defy the very essence of his profession. The tale unfolds with twists and turns, revealing a chilling pattern of addiction, forgery, and a thirst for control that manifested in the most sinister of ways. As a youth, Shipman showcased his prowess on the rugby field, earning accolades in local leagues. His working-class upbringing seemed ordinary, yet it was within these early years that the seeds of a future darkness were sown. Shipman's connection with his mother, Vera, was particularly profound. However, tragedy struck when she succumbed to lung cancer, a poignant event that would later cast a long shadow on Shipman's life. The echoes of his mother's final moments bore an eerie resemblance to Shipman's own modus operandi. In the later stages of her terminal illness, morphine administered at home provided relief from pain until her death on June 21, 1963. Shipman, just 17 at the time, witnessed the palliative effects of the drug, a theme that would resurface in a much more sinister context in his later years. Shipman's passage into adulthood unfolded with notable achievements. Having passed his 11+ in 1957, he ventured into High Pavement Grammar School, Nottingham, where his athletic prowess continued to shine. A distance runner and vice-captain of the athletics team, Shipman's early years hinted at promise and potential. However, tragedy struck once again when, on November 5, 1966, he exchanged vows with Primrose May Oxtoby. Shipman's academic journey led him to Leeds School of Medicine, University of Leeds, where he graduated in 1970. The pursuit of a medical career beckoned, and Shipman embraced his role as a healer. Yet, beneath the veneer of success, the shadows of personal loss lingered. The death of his mother and the commitments of marriage marked a chapter that would shape Shipman's evolving psyche, laying the groundwork for a disturbing future. Shipman's medical career commenced at Pontefract General Infirmary in West Riding of Yorkshire, where he tended to the health needs of the community. However, a dark cloud loomed over his journey when, in 1975, he forged prescriptions of pethidine for personal use. This marked the first ominous sign, a glimpse into the turbulent undercurrents beneath Shipman's seemingly respectable facade. Fined £600 and briefly attending a drug rehabilitation clinic in York, Shipman faced the consequences of his actions, but managed to continue his medical journey. His path led him to the Abraham Ormerod Medical Center in Todmorden, where he assumed his first position as a general practitioner in 1974. Little did the community know that the person they trusted with their health harbored a dark secret, a foreshadowing of the horrors that awaited in the years to come. As Shipman donned the cloak of a trusted healer, his sinister inclinations remained concealed. Shrouded in the veneer of medical professionalism, Shipman's victims were carefully chosen, a chilling manifestation of his ability to exploit trust. His primary targets were the vulnerable elderly, individuals who placed their faith in him as their physician. The selection process, deceptively simple, relied on the intimate doctor-patient relationship. The elderly, often isolated and dependent on Shipman's care, became unwitting pawns in his malevolent game. Shipman preyed upon their trust, leveraging his position to administer fatal doses of drugs, primarily dimorphine, a powerful opioid. His victims, chosen for their perceived frailty, were condemned by the very person entrusted with their well-being. Shipman's method of murder unfolded with a calculated cruelty. The fatal doses of dimorphine induced a swift and irreversible descent into death, leaving behind a facade of natural causes. The victims, unsuspecting and defenseless, succumbed to the lethal injections administered by the hands of their supposed healer. Shipman's ability to mask his crimes within the realm of medical treatment added a sinister layer to his malevolence. The magnitude of Shipman's crimes remains a subject of grim speculation. While he was officially found guilty of murdering 15 patients, estimates of his actual victim count vary. The Shipman Inquiry, a meticulous examination chaired by Dame Janet Smith, delved into all deaths certified by Shipman. Revelations during the inquiry suggested an estimated 250 victims, making him one of the most prolific serial killers in modern history. Shipman's dark endeavors might have continued unabated if not for the vigilance of a few individuals who dared to question the shadows cast by the Angel of Death. In March 1998, Dr. Linda Reynolds raised concerns about the unusually high death rate among Shipman's patients. Her suspicions, expressed to the coroner for the South Manchester district, ignited the initial spark of investigation. However, the first attempt to expose Shipman faltered. Greater Manchester Police, assigning inexperienced officers to the case, closed the investigation in April 1998, failing to find sufficient evidence. Tragically, Shipman claimed 3 more lives before the authorities revisited the case. In August of the same year, taxi driver John Shaw, alarmed by the deaths of seemingly healthy elderly passengers under Shipman's care, stepped forward with suspicions, reigniting the pursuit of justice. Kathleen Grundy, a former mayor of Hyde, became Shipman's unwitting final victim, her death becoming the catalyst for the murderer's downfall. Shipman, the last person to see her alive, signed her death certificate, attributing her demise to old age. However, Grundy's daughter, solicitor Angela Woodruff, sensed foul play when a will surfaced, excluding her and her children, but leaving a substantial sum to Shipman. Woodruff's intuition led her to the police, initiating an investigation that would unmask Shipman's web of deception. Grundy's exhumed body revealed traces of dimorphine, contradicting Shipman's narrative. The forged will, coupled with the evidence of a lethal pattern in Shipman's certifications, laid bare the heinous truth. The culmination of Shipman's reign of terror unfolded in Preston Crown Court on October 5, 1999. Charged with the murders of 15 women, Shipman faced the consequences of his malevolence. The trial, lasting 6 days, concluded with a guilty verdict on January 31, 2000. Mr. Justice Forbes sentenced Shipman to life imprisonment for all 15 counts of murder, with a whole life tariff. The aftermath of Shipman's reign of terror echoed through subsequent investigations and inquiries. The Shipman Inquiry, concluded in July 2002, uncovered a chilling legacy of at least 218 murders between 1975 and 1998. The total victim count, estimated at 250, exposed the magnitude of his atrocities. The legacy of the Shipman effect reverberated in the transformation of medical practices and death certification procedures in the UK. The haunting question of how one man, entrusted with the duty to heal, became the perpetrator of such heinous crimes lingered in the collective consciousness. The Garden of Tranquility, a memorial to Shipman's victims, stood as a somber reminder of lives extinguished by the hand of a malevolent healer. Shipman's name reverberated beyond the realms of crime, leaving an indelible mark on popular culture. Television dramas and documentaries sought to dissect the psyche of Dr. Death, portraying his crimes and the subsequent investigations. The Shipman Files, a very British crime story, a 3-part documentary, delved into the untold stories of Shipman's victims, questioning how he remained undetected for so long. The Shipman effect, a term coined to encapsulate the aftermath of his crimes, led to significant changes in medical procedures. The impact rippled through the very fabric of the medical community, reshaping the dynamics of doctor-patient relationships and certification protocols. Shipman's malevolence had etched its mark on the annals of history, a dark chapter that would forever be remembered as a cautionary tale of betrayal and trust. Despite the passage of time, Harold Shipman's story remains an enigma, inviting speculation and analysis. What drove a respected doctor to become a prolific serial killer? How did the system fail to detect his crimes earlier? The shadows cast by Shipman's actions persist, a haunting reminder of the complexities that lie beneath the surface of seemingly ordinary lives. As the pages of history turn, the tale of Dr. Death endures as a cautionary narrative, urging society to remain vigilant against the wolves in the garb of healers. The culmination of Shipman's reign of terror unfolded in Preston Crown Court on October 5, 1999. The courtroom became the stage for a harrowing confrontation between justice and a man who had betrayed the very essence of his sworn duty as a healer. Charged with the murders of 15 women, Shipman faced the consequences of his malevolence. The trial, lasting 6 days, delved into the sinister details of Shipman's crimes. The prosecution meticulously presented evidence of lethal injections, forged wills, and a pattern of deceit that painted a chilling portrait of the man known as Dr. Death. The victims, whose lives were extinguished under the guise of medical care, were posthumously given a voice through the unraveling of Shipman's web of deception. On January 31, 2000, after 6 days of deliberation, the jury delivered a verdict that sent shockwaves through the nation. Shipman was found guilty of 15 counts of murder and 1 count of forgery. The weight of justice bore down on his shoulders as Mr. Justice Forbes pronounced the sentence that would confine Shipman to a life behind bars. Mr. Justice Forbes, Harold Shipman, the harm you have caused is incalculable. Your patients, who would have placed their trust in you, you betrayed. You have committed acts of wickedness almost beyond belief. The judge's words echoed the collective horror felt by those who grappled with the revelation of Shipman's atrocities. The gravity of his crimes demanded a punishment commensurate with the scale of his malevolence. Shipman's life imprisonment carried an additional recommendation for a whole life tariff, ensuring that he would spend the remainder of his days incarcerated. A fitting consequence for a man who had snuffed out the lives of those who sought his healing touch. However, Shipman's legal team, in a futile attempt to mitigate the severity of the sentence, sought to have the Grundy case tried separately. They argued that a motive was implied by the alleged forgery of Grundy's will. On February 11, 2000, just 11 days after his conviction, Shipman faced another blow as he was struck off the medical register by the General Medical Council. This swift action severed the last vestiges of Shipman's connection to the medical profession, casting him into the abyss of societal condemnation. 2 years later, Home Secretary David Blunkett confirmed the judge's whole life tariff, just months before British government ministers lost their power to set minimum terms for prisoners. While authorities could have brought additional charges, they concluded that a fair hearing would be impossible due to the enormous publicity surrounding the original trial. The 15 life sentences already imposed rendered further litigation unnecessary. Shipman, having become an emblem of treachery within the medical fraternity, found himself isolated from the realm of healing he had exploited for his nefarious deeds. The shadows of his crimes loomed large over the prison walls, sealing the fate of the man who had betrayed the very essence of the healer's oath. The darkness that enshrouded Harold Shipman's life reached its ultimate climax on a cold morning, January 13, 2004, within the confines of HM Prison Wakefield. The man who had inflicted unimaginable suffering on his patients took his own life, closing the macabre chapter he had authored. In a statement from His Majesty's Prison Service, it was revealed that Shipman had hanged himself from the window bars of his cell, using his bed sheets. The macabre irony of Shipman, the orchestrator of death, choosing to end his own life was not lost on a society still grappling with the enormity of his crimes. He was pronounced dead at 8:10 a.m., marking the conclusion of a life stained with malevolence. The aftermath of Shipman's death was marked by a complex tapestry of emotions. While some felt a sense of closure, others grappled with a peculiar form of justice, denied the absence of a confession or an understanding of why he had committed such heinous acts. Home Secretary David Blunkett, acknowledging the ambivalence, remarked on the tempting notion of celebration upon learning of Shipman's suicide. David Blunkett, you wake up, and you receive a call telling you Shipman has topped himself. And you think, is it too early to open a bottle? And then you discover that everybody's very upset that he's done it. The national newspapers mirrored the divided sentiments. The Daily Mirror branded Shipman a cold coward, condemning the prison service for allowing his suicide to happen. In stark contrast, The Independent called for an inquiry into Shipman's suicide to encompass a broader examination of the state of UK prisons and the welfare of inmates. As the specter of Shipman's life retreated from public consciousness, questions lingered about his motive for suicide. Reports suggested that he confided in his probation officer about contemplating suicide to secure his wife's financial future after being stripped of his National Health Service pension. Primrose Shipman, who steadfastly maintained her husband's innocence, received a full NHS pension that she would not have been entitled to if Shipman had lived past the age of 60. Yet, the ambiguity surrounding Shipman's motive persisted, a final enigma in a saga defined by mystery and malevolence. A 2005 inquiry concluded that Shipman's suicide could not have been predicted or prevented, signaling the need for a re-examination of procedures despite the impossibility of anticipating such an event. After Shipman's body was released to his family, the public awaited a resolution to the macabre saga. False reports circulated about his funeral, and his widow, advised by the police against burying him, faced the challenge of laying to rest a man whose very name had become synonymous with treachery. Finally, on March 19, 2005, more than a year after his death, Harold Shipman's body was cremated at Hutcliffe Wood Crematorium. The cremation, shrouded in secrecy, was attended only by Primrose Shipman and the couple's 4 children, marking the end of a life that had left an indelible scar on the annals of British criminal history. As the flames consumed the mortal remains of Harold Shipman, the nation grappled with the legacy of a man who had exploited the sacred trust between doctor and patient, leaving behind a trail of shattered lives and unanswered questions. The Garden of Tranquility, a memorial garden to Shipman's victims, stood as a somber reminder of the lives lost and the wounds inflicted by one man's descent into darkness. The echoes of his malevolence reverberated through time, serving as a cautionary tale of the fragility of trust and the profound consequences of betrayal. Do you believe justice was served? Share your opinions in the comments section and invite others to join the discussion.